Linda McMahon to be the administrator of, or the head of the Small Business Administration. And everybody's been asking me about that. And we discuss it with Jim Ross on the Ross Report. But, you know, Linda McMahon is like the Marilyn Munster of the McMahon family. She's the normal one, right? And I really don't have anything bad to say about Linda McMahon as a person or as a businesswoman. And we didn't work that closely. You know, me and Bruce and JR and Pat Patterson and you know, the agents and you know, even Shitstain, we were all on Vince. We were Vince's guys. We were over in the creative and the performance side, whereas Linda was always at the other end of the fourth floor. And, you know, she was on the business side, and she dealt with, of course, now they did hire, and it may not have been their fault, because after the steroid trials and the scandals and everything they went through in the mid-90s, I think we've touched on it before, they hired those idiots from other businesses and other companies that had human resources. The lunatic woman, what was her name? Lisa Wolf, that had a crush on J.J. Dillon and made J.J. cringe and feel uncomfortable, was always hitting on him. Or that, oh my God, I can't even remember the guy's name, but they found out later on he had an alias. And the merchandising guy that they sent to prison for pilfering, I think Jim Bell, for double dipping on merchandising deals and taking kickbacks. So it wasn't their fault that they hired, they felt like they had to hire a lot of those people in the mid-90s to give them an air of respectability. It wasn't just all wrestling people. And then they found out that they treated the non-wrestling people better financially and with benefits and packages than the wrestling people. And then they found out that all the wrestling people were mostly loyal and all the non-wrestling people were either incompetent or fucking them all. I remember the one guy whose name I can't remember. And I should get a hold of my friend James Dixon over at What Culture Pro Wrestling in England, because he's written these books and he'd tell me the guy's name right off the bat. But he was an older guy, and we were at the hotel ready to go to Raw one day, and me and Bruce and JR and I think Vince were walking to leave to go next door for the early production meeting, and this guy came out from the hotel pool in a long T-shirt, and he was an older guy to begin with, and he was wearing shorts, but the T-shirt was so long that he was covering the shorts. He looked like a guy that had just walked out of a nursing home wearing only a T-shirt, naked from the fucking underneath the T-shirt, and he was just confused and walking around, and we were like, this guy is in charge of shit around here. But I don't have anything bad to say about Linda McMahon otherwise than she's friends with Donald Trump. She's a Republican, and, you know, the Republican ideology is so horrible. So I just wanted to, for those of you keeping track, let's run this down real quick so we can go back to talking about wrestling. But the Attorney General pick, and I don't know how, a lot of these people need to be confirmed, and good God, I hope some of them aren't. But Attorney General Jeff Sessions, Jefferson Beauregard Sessions from Alabama. You think he's progressive on race relations? 70 years old. He's anti-gay marriage, anti-health care, anti-repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. He's named the 5th most conservative senator in the United States. He's anti-immigration reform and anti-abortion. Have you ever noticed the Democrats are always for stuff and the Republicans are always against stuff? It just seems like it settles down in that category. The education secretary, a woman named Betsy DeVos. She's a rich person. Secretary of Health and Human Services, Tom Price. He's anti-Obamacare, wants to privatize Social Security. So, folks, get it while you can. Spend it while you can get it, because you ain't going to have it long if they privatize Social Security. He's also anti-Planned Parenthood. Secretary of Transportation, Elaine Chao. That chinless, turtle-faced, nitwit Mitch McConnell from Kentucky's fucking rich wife. Anybody that would marry and or potentially have intercourse with Mitch McConnell is a reprehensible human being, just on the surface of it. Secretary of the Treasury, Stephen Mnuchin. He's a billionaire. 17 years at Goldman Sachs. Remember all the joy and bliss that Goldman Sachs brought us about 8 years ago. No government experience whatsoever. Secretary of Commerce, Wilbur Ross. He's another billionaire. Secretary of Defense, General James Mad Dog Mattis. That's all you need, is a general with a nickname of Mad Dog, who actually needs a waiver to serve as Secretary of Defense, because the Secretary of Defense is not supposed to be a person who has served in the military over the last 7 years, and he's currently there, and he loves war. War is his hobby. Have you heard about this? Have you read about this?
I don't know.
He has a collection of 7,000 books about war and war philosophy and war strategies and different wars.
And he takes it with him.
Yes, he takes with him he loves him some war. So that's going to be good. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Dr. Ben Carson. Not only has he never held elective office, but Donald Trump just got finished waging a campaign where he said that the guy couldn't even stay awake and he was obviously a mental incompetent. So he's going to be perfect for Housing and Urban Development. Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, another general, John Kelly. Chief of Staff, of course, Reince Priebus, which if you take all the vowels out of his name, it spells RNCBS. RNCPRBS. After all the problems they had during the campaign, he figured, okay, I'll make some of the Republicans happy and I'll stick him in there. The ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley. Administrator of Small Business Administration, Linda McMahon. Head of the EPA. This is a great one, folks. For those of you with kids and grandkids, go ahead and put a plastic bag over their head and throw them off the bridge, because they're not going to have any place to live by the time they get to be your age, because this fucking asshole is going to melt the planet. The head of the Environmental Protection Agency, Scott Pruitt, if Donald Trump gets his way, is going to be a guy who is currently suing the Environmental Protection Agency over the regulations that they have put in place to guard against climate change. There you go. And Secretary of State, now we find out, Rex Tillerson, CEO of ExxonMobil, and of course they are really concerned about the environment. He also has ties to Russia and no government experience whatsoever. So these are the people that the bloviating flesh bag has picked so far to run. This is a cabinet of cronies, billionaires, favors, and lunatics, and people who have no experience whatsoever in doing the jobs that they are being asked to do. And so Linda McMahon looks great. Basically, to answer everybody's question, I think Linda McMahon is probably the nicest, most normal person of all of the cabinet picks that we have heard so far from Twat Waffle.
Yeah, and the McMahons, I think they donated $5 million to the Trump campaign, so it kind of puts a valuation on things. She spent $100 million to lose 2 elections, and $5 million got her in the cabinet. So actually, congratulations, Linda.
Well, it was $6 million. Now,
$6 million.
I know what's $1 million between friends, but
it's a shame this is happening now, because I could think of a lot of small businesses that could have used our help, like the AWA and Georgia Championship Wrestling and Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, and lots of other small businesses that for some reason went out of business years ago. And I'm not exactly sure what happened, but if they had had the expertise, the small business expertise of a Linda McMahon in the cabinet, it may have been able to help them. All these people coming into the Trump Tower meeting with him, Jim, I am disappointed we have not had a Jesse Ventura appearance yet.
Oh, I'm sure it's coming. And the thing also with Linda, everybody, well, she has built the WWE into this global juggernaut. Once again, Linda McMahon is much smarter than I am when it comes to business matters. And she's talked to a lot more people and has a lot more friends and contacts and et cetera. But if anybody thinks that any single person was responsible for what has happened, good, bad, or indifferent, to the WWF/WWF/WWE over the last 30 years, except Vince McMahon, you're fucking nuts. I'm sorry.
The bullshit is when they say she's the co-founder of the WWE.
She was the co-founder when Vince was promoting the Cape Cod Coliseum. That she might have been co-founder of that, but basically Vince got a sweetheart deal by purchasing for $1 million from his father, who was ailing with terminal cancer, a company that was grossing 7 to 10 times that per year. And for the folks of you out there who have business degrees, do that math. And then, you know, yes, Vince took a lot of big gambles.
Well, you're forgetting one of the main parts, though. He purchased it for $1 million. It was grossing 10 times more than that. And he got to make the payment for the company in 4 quarterly installments using the company profits.
Well, yes, basically, yeah. Vince Sr. said, okay, here's the company. You're buying it for $1 million. Give me $250,000 every quarter for the next year. So every time that they would make $250,000, he'd turn around and give it to his father. He had none of his money whatsoever in it. Now, he did gamble everything on the first WrestleMania, and things would have been a lot different in wrestling and life in general if that hadn't panned out. And Vince does have the big balls to take these chances. But I'm sorry, Linda dealt with people that did business in the company, but Vince was the business. And I guess that's the way to. So anyway, but now before anybody thinks I'm advocating that Vince be nominated to the cabinet, no, I don't want Vince McMahon. And that's the problem, is now Vince McMahon may be able to walk into the White House when he wants to. And believe me, if Vince McMahon thinks that he has the right to just walk into the White House and knock on the door of the Oval Office, I can see him talking to the Secret Service agents. No, I'm just going to talk to Donald. I've told the story before about when we got rerouted on a commercial flight that was supposed to go to LaGuardia, I believe, and instead they were sending us to Albany because of weather. He was knocking on the pilot's door, the cockpit door, demanding to speak to them to try to change their mind about where we were going to land because he didn't want to fucking drive 3 hours from Albany to get back to work. So he will, and somehow got off with it, and it was detained afterwards to be spoken to for a second. And he told him, I just wanted an explanation, and walked away.